Hi, BookTube. It's Christmas Eve. I hope you like that. I've kind of gone into the spirit of things. A little bit of glitter, a little bit of jingle bells. you know, this is my first Christmas decorating. In fact, I'm very late this year with my Christmas preparations. It's just circumstances beyond my control. That's what I'm pleading. And since this is also my first BookTube Christmas, I don't know how many book lovers will be out there looking for new content, but there's got to be some, right? There's got to be some. And so I wanted to keep to my twice weekly schedule, regardless of what the date was. And who knows? I mean, some of you might need a break from gift wrapping or Brussels sprout peeling or whatever it is you might be doing. I usually decorate our Christmas cake on Christmas Eve, and that sort of occupies my hands and my eyes, but not so much my brain and my ears. So what I'm going to talk about today is just the sort of stimulating but not too demanding subject matter that I would enjoy listening to while I rolled out the marzipan and warmed up the apricot jam. So back in November, you'll remember the hot or not tag was all the rage. And I did my version and I commented on how much I loved Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol. And it never gets tiring. It never gets tiring. That eerie thrill, the Christmas Eve ordeal, which is the haunting of Ebenezer Scrooge. And I never get tired either of seeing that old man transform. Back in 2008, I tried my hand at podcasting for a while, and I did a close reading that zoomed in on the physical appearance of the three ghosts, the ghost of Christmas past, ghost of Christmas present, ghost of Christmas yet to come. Because with all the television and film adaptations that we get to see, it's very likely, it certainly is in my case, that the images in your head aren't the ones that Dickens first created in the novel. And it's really cool, too, to speculate what Dickens might have been communicating himself about the past, present, future, and other things. So, in the spirit, haha, no pun intended, of perfect timing, I'm going to revisit those podcast notes. If your favorite Dickens ghost was Jacob Marley, my apologies that I don't have any material prepared for that. I have to hope, of course, that Marley is reasonably good-natured himself about it, because the only hauntings I can cope with are fictional ones, and even then. Okay, right, let's have a look at The Ghost of Christmas Past. This passage I'm going to read is from the Kindle version of the Penguin Classics edition of A Christmas Carol, which comes in a collection with other Dickens Christmas writings. Of course, there'll be a link in my description box. We're going to read from Stave 2, page 98. It was a strange figure, like a child, yet not so like a child as like an old man, viewed through some supernatural medium which gave him the appearance of having receded from the view and being diminished to a child's proportions. Its hair, which hung about its neck and down its back, was white, as if with age, and yet the skin had not a wrinkle in it, and the tenderest bloom was on the skin. The arms were very long and muscular, the hands the same, as if its hold were of uncommon strength. Its belt sparkled and glittered, now in one part and now in another, and what was light one instant at another time was dark, so the figure itself fluctuated in its distinctness, being now a thing with one arm, now with one leg, now with 20 legs, now a pair of legs without a head, now a head without a body, of which dissolving parts no outline would be visible in the dense gloom wherein they melted away. And in the very wonder of this, it would be itself again, distinct and clear as ever. What a contradictory figure. Young, yet old, yet not young. You know that saying, the child is the father of the man. The spirit is suggesting a couple of things to me. How powerfully we are affected by what happened to us in our childhood. And when you think about it, this is Dickens writing before any psychological theories that we understand today were come to or written down, and yet he seems to understand that something of the child self always remains in the older self. And also you could talk about the collective past being represented by this ghost, the cumulative effects of history on us as individuals. I mean, that's why history it's a must-read subject for me. You know, whether you know a lot or a little about history, we're products of it anyway. That's where the ghost's powerful arms and the hands with their uncommon strength become really meaningful. What we are can be the result of actions and ideas that reach across the centuries, I mean, figuratively speaking, to grab and hold us. And I'm going to speculate because it's Christmas, right? Did Dickens choose the order of visitation just because that's the way we normally talk about time? We don't say the future, the present, and the past. We say the past, the present, and the future. Or did the ghost of Christmas past visit first because Dickens felt that the most effective first step for any kind of personal transformation has to be a deeper understanding of our personal and collective past? In other words, would a personal resolution to change be more likely to fail if the person who's undertaking it has no idea about the strong hands from the past that are pulling them back? That being said, I'm going to have that phrase engraved on my headstone. That being said, it's either going to be that or on the other hand, right? So that being said, Dickens designed this ghost also. The way he describes it, the vision is unreliable, right? Let's reread this one short passage. You'll remember it says, quote, "The figure itself fluctuated in its distinctness, being now a thing with one arm, now with one leg, now with 20 legs, now a pair of legs without a head, now a head without a body." It's a brilliant metaphor. Dickens was underlining the point, wasn't he? That the past, whether we're talking about our personal memories or history, which is an agreed construct of collective memories, it doesn't matter which, both are fallible. There is no single, irrefutable version of either of those things. What we think of as the past is therefore always worth questioning. And that strong arm that stretches out from the past and it grabs us by the throat, it may be more myth than fact. And I mean, if it's myth, then maybe it doesn't deserve the respect or the faith that we put in parts of it. And maybe it shouldn't be granted the authority to paralyze us, to keep us from going forward. Okay, it's time for the next spirit to visit us. The ghost of Christmas present. Now this was my favorite ghost because it was the least scary, right? I've said I'm a coward many times before, right? I could cope with the ghost of Christmas present. In Dickens' novel, the interesting thing is that this is the one ghost of the three that doesn't come to Scrooge. Scrooge has to go to this ghost. Scrooge has to get up out of his bed and leave his bedchamber to meet the ghost of Christmas present. I'm going to read now from page 118 of the Kindle edition. "The moment Scrooge's hand was on the lock, a strange voice called him by his name and bade him enter. He obeyed. It was his own room. There was no doubt about that. But it had undergone a surprising transformation. The walls and ceiling were so hung with living green that it looked a perfect grove, and from every part of which bright, gleaming berries glistened. The crisp leaves of holly, mistletoe, and ivy reflected back the light, as if so many little mirrors had been scattered there, and such a mighty blaze went roaring up the chimney as that dull petrification of a hearth had never known in Scrooge's time, or Marley's, or for many and many a winter season gone. Heaped up on the floor, to form a kind of throne, were turkeys, geese, game, poultry, brawn, great joints of meat, sucking pigs, long wreaths of sausages, mince pies, plum puddings, barrels of oysters, red-hot chestnuts, cherry-cheeked apples, juicy oranges, luscious pears, immense twelfth cakes, and seething bowls of punch that made the chamber dim with their delicious steam. In easy state upon this couch there sat a jolly giant, glorious to see, who bore a glowing torch, in shape not unlike Plenty's horn, and held it up, high up, to shed its light on Scrooge as he came peeping round the door. I loved the sensuous beauty of this ghost. He was the only one who came with light and warmth and food aromas, and all the amount of greenery. Oh, all at that point of perfection, with berries, fruit ready for picking. It made me think, this is the present, and everything is here for seizing, for taking. What I don't think I've seen in any television adaptations, or maybe I just failed to notice it, is this feature of the ghost's presentation. Girded round its middle was an antique scabbard, but no sword was in it, and the ancient sheath was eaten up with rust. A scabbard missing its sword. See, I'd always thought of this ghost as a symbol of bonhomie and compassion. I never thought of him as a reformed man, a former killer, maybe, a recovering mass murderer, maybe. Thinking of him that way, well, it was a reminder that people do make great changes. They do heal themselves. At the same time, the ghost still has that scabbard. He's not got rid of it. Is it a scar? Or is it that for all the material bounty and the light and the warmth and the generosity of this spirit, is there always the possibility of a relapse into savagery, into solving problems with violence? I mean, could it ever be said that the ghost of Christmas Present has completely moved beyond that? And it made me think, remember the 1990s? Remember when Francis Fukuyama talked about the end of history and suggested there would be a point when all governments around the world would arrive at a form of liberal democracy, and then, we'd all just settle down and live happily ever after. Yeah, remember that? If there's a flip side to the ghost of Christmas Present, I'm starting to wonder if it may be haunting the world right now. Sword in scabbard. Okay. I didn't want this video to get too heavy. Maybe it's more useful. Let's take Dickens' ideas down to just a personal level. Any good plan for change, perhaps what Dickens' Ghost of Christmas Present is suggesting is that any plan for change should include strategies that anticipate relapses and temptation and mistakes. That we should have strategies that expect failure, right? And expect having to recover, like having to get out of bed, like Scrooge, and head in the right direction, not just once, but over and over and over, right? And now we have to move on, even though I would really rather leave this ghost out. The ghost of Christmas yet to come. This was the ghost I dreaded. I can't have been alone. I can't have been alone, can I? Let me read. The phantom slowly, gravely, silently approached. When it came near him, Scrooge bent down upon his knee, for in the very air through which this spirit moved, it seemed to scatter gloom and mystery. It was shrouded in a deep black garment which concealed its head, its face, its form, and left nothing of it visible save one outstretched hand. But for this, it would have been difficult to detach its figure from the night and separate it from the darkness by which it was surrounded. Scrooge felt that it was tall and stately when it came beside him, and that its mysterious presence filled him with a solemn dread. He knew no more, for the spirit neither spoke nor moved. A black hole, effectively, with a single pointing hand. No surprises there. I think most television adaptations pretty much stick by the book when they portray this ghost. It's a ghost that will not speak because what it knows we do not and we cannot know what 2024 will bring, or any year after that, or how many years we get. This is the stripped down ghost. No body, no face, no voice. Everybody gets to be like the ghost of Christmas yet to come one day, right? Just the same as the next person, stripped down one day. Also, I think this is the ghost that visits the real world so often at Christmas or other special occasions. If you lose someone, if you know that you're going to lose someone, if you're injured or diagnosed with a serious illness, if you lose your job, the first holidays or celebrations that come around after that shock will never feel the same. Some things matter less, and suddenly some things matter so much more. That seems to be the kind of shock that the ghost of Christmas yet to come had to give Ebenezer Scrooge. In my podcast notes, I created a shorthand for the three ghosts, right? I wanted to distill their characteristics into single words. So the ghost of Christmas past, I renamed the formative. That is, the strong but questionable factors which contribute to what we are now. The ghost of Christmas present I call the superlative. That is, everything that is within grasp and possible to change right now, but also the possibility of failing to change. And the ghost of Christmas yet to come I called the imperative. That is, the things that matter more, that truly matter more. And anyone who's been visited by this ghost knows exactly what those things are. At the end of A Christmas Carol, the narrator says of Ebenezer Scrooge, he had no further intercourse with spirits. Well, maybe he didn't. But speaking personally, I think the reason that I don't ever get tired of this Victorian novel is because I don't think my dialogue with these three ghosts ever stops. They feel like regular visitors. Whenever I find myself asking, why did I do that? Or why didn't I do that? Or why does this matter so much? It feels like I'm having a conference with Scrooge's Trinity of Spirits all over again, a conference that ends up visiting the past, the present, the future in one way or another. I mean, would it be far-fetched to say that whenever anyone has a difficult decision or has to work out a moral dilemma, that you have to take yourself through a version of the Dickensian ordeal of Christmas Eve, just so that you can face the next day and have a way to go forward? I will leave with that thought from mulling. Thank you, everybody, for checking out this video. If the ghost of Christmas yet to come is merciful, there should be 2 more videos coming your way before 2024 ends. Take care, everybody. Happy reading. Bye-bye.